All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 12 o'clock. So it's time to get started with some My Hero Academia. Let's go ahead and get the formalities out of the way, shall we? Yo, peoples, Kyushu92 here, and welcome to My Hero Academia chapter reaction and review. Today, Midoriya Shonen, good to see you. Dragon Beast as well, though I don't know if they're still here. They probably just left that message and I don't know, but it's good to see everyone here. We had such a good chapter last week showcasing Spinner and then pretty much a mob of heteromorphic civilians mixed in with the Paraliberation Army as they try to make their way towards the Central Hospital. Wanted to make sure I was unmuted there. Yes, and you guys can see my face. It is not covered in any way. This may be the position that I keep my camera at for future streams and videos, because at least you guys can see my face and the rest. So if I were to get up and hoop and holler at the back of this room, I can. So this position of my camera is quite nice. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with this chapter, because I want to see what happens with the whole mob as Shoji is facing off against, is one of the heroes facing off against most of these heteromorphic civilians. And I think it's real nice that some of the members of some of the students of Class 1A happen to be heteromorphic. Koda, and Shoji. So I feel like their placements here in these chapters is not a mistake. Also appears that we are not going on break either. So let's get started with chapter 371. Together with Shoji. The safety of those in the hospital. Tell me you have a plan, because if not, I won't let this stand. And then the Spinner, who's still out of his mind because of the massive amount of strain on his brain because of this gigantification quirk that All For One put in him, goes, ask if me have plan. Ow, what his problem? Boy hurt me. He really has mentally regressed due to this gigantification. It's basically what happens when Banner turns into the Hulk, and it's the childlike, mindless Hulk. Well, not mindless, but possibly savage. But ask if me have plan. Ow, what his problem? Boy hurt me. And then Koda's thinking, that sounds like Shoji. And then it cuts to oh, we get a good look at Shoji's face. That's why he has a mask on. The dude has scars around his face. This had to have been before he had a mask on, when he was persecuted being different. You know, being a heteromorphic, he had to suffer under the hands of people who didn't like him, and so they did these things to him. Like, he has what looks to be like a mark that goes around his mouth all the way to the back of his head. I bet you anything they tried to wrap ropes around his mouth, like going through his mouth and to the back of his head, because there's a whole mark that goes from his mouth all the way to the back of his head. So this dude suffered more than any of us could have ever realized, because we've never seen his face, but he's always been silent about it. But the dude has been marked by persecution. Check out that kid, all those nasty scars on him. Yeah, but It's just like you told us, Rep. How we gotta obey and steal back Kurogiri, even if it means sacrifices. Tell us what to do. We know you're true and just. They don't get it. They don't understand that what they're doing makes no sense. They say they're doing this in the name of heteromorphics and for them to prosper and for them to be free. But they don't even understand why they're stealing Kurogiri back in the first place. Kurogiri has nothing to do with these civilians. So they're just being riled up for no reason. And Spinner, who's literally out of his mind, he's so out of his mind, he's constantly drooling. He is literally mindless. He can barely pair up two sentences together. Don't care. And then one of the other civilians goes, he doesn't care? Ah, indeed. He's saying history is written in blood, and this is the spider heteromorphic from the Paraliberation. He's saying history is written in blood, meaning such things are unavoidable. And that stupid kid, and Spinner too, they're making this harder than it needs to be. Press onward! As this mob of people starts to press forward. As Shoji goes, Spinner, you're about to set us back 30 years. Shut up! As that's happening, something starts to come out of his neck. It's starting to rip through Spinner's neck. And then it cuts to when All For One gave Spinner this gigantification quirk, and apparently something else. Seriously. And if that body bulk doesn't get the job done, consider using this gift as well. And can't care anymore. Scale Mail will grant you power, defense, and a form befitting a leader. Not about any of it. Not anymore. And then it shows that these scales, like it's chainmail, but it's scale mail. And it starts to come out of Spinner's skin forcibly because it shows blood just shooting out. This is not like something that goes over his skin easily. It's forcing itself from underneath him and tearing through his body to cover him. Can't care anymore. Not about any of it. Not anymore. Then it cuts to Shigaraki as he goes, League of Legends. Yeah, I played that one. Only on solo mode, though. Okay, so Shigaraki confirms that he's a League of Legends player. All right, didn't know that would be a tidbit we'd be learning today. And it shows Spinner, covered in this scale mail, launching towards Shoji and hitting him in the air. And Shoji covers himself in like countless arms to protect himself, but one of his hands gets sliced off. Not his hand, but one of his hands that he's using to protect himself, while Spinner hits him with his massive multi-sworded sword, goes, just keep moving, as he launches in the air and slams into Shoji, sending Shoji flying backwards a distance. And Kota screams out, Shoji! Then the spider leader goes, Brethren, observe our chosen rep. He shows us how the oppressed and downtrodden must find the courage to strike back. We are martyrs for the revolution. Blood spilled today will lead to rights for future heteromorphs. And Kota sees this dude riling up these people, making them think what they're doing is fine. And then Kota thinks back, that's ridiculous. Of all people, Shoji is. And then it cuts to Shoji actually showing his face to Class 1A, to all of them, Midoriya included. And then everyone is listening to Shoji's story. My parents didn't have arms like mine. We lived in an awful town. They all came out in force for a blood cleansing when I touched someone. Kota, Tokoyami, and others who grew up in cities might have read in textbooks about areas of the country where children are still made to bear scars like mine. And then, Mina says, screw that, the world'd be better off without those creeps. And then Shoji goes, maybe so, but the disparity remains. And then Minetta's just thinking, oh geez, I'm pretty sure I called you octopus once. Sorry man, I wasn't trying to say you were gross or anything. It's only natural that my arms make people think of an octopus. I went for Tentacool as my hero name, since taco is Japanese for octopus. And it's not like I'm unaware of the widespread heroes who look like villains ranking and stuff like that. I wouldn't want people to tiptoe around the issue for my sake. But my scars and heteromorph form are bound to make people wonder. So I wear the mask, since I wouldn't want anyone thinking I'm out for revenge. And then Tokoyami says, that takes strength. I've been through plenty of terrible times that I'll never forget. But, rather than dwell on the bad memories. And it shows Shoji jumping into a river to save a small child. This is what started it. A little girl was drowning in a river, and Shoji came and saved her using his quirk. But because he touched her, good lord, races are not cool, ever, in any sort of media. But rather than dwell on the bad memories, I'd rather cling to the single good one related to this body of mine. And then it shows that what it says, Asui experienced this warmth during the cavalry battle in Volume 4. Ah, okay. So that's that little tidbit here. Because this little girl is just crying, and Shoji is holding on to her before he got scarred by this lynch mob who were out for cleansing simply because he touched her. Ugh, boy. And the thing is, there are still people like that in the world today. Just basically, well, actually, it's the same thing. Because they look at people like, well, me. And there are people out there that look at my skin tone and think that it's inferior to theirs. Or people who are not like them at all is inferior to them. It's not just black people, but pretty much anyone else as well. If there's anyone out there that may come across this video and you think that a person, just based on how they look, is their sense of worth, that's how you see their value, you're an idiot. Full stop, you're an idiot. Because you see this sort of matter in here, dealing with My Hero Academia, and you also seen it in other media, such as the X-Men, where a lot of the mutants got persecuted because of their own appearance. Nightcrawler, and anyone else who had like a inhuman-looking design, or inhuman look, often persecuted simply because of their appearance. People who think that you don't look the same as me, therefore you're inferior to me, those people are idiots. Those people still exist in this world today, and they're still idiots if they think that way. Don't care how people view what I'm saying right now, but people like that do not progress. They only stay stagnant. And it's sad that they stay stagnant because at that point they can never learn. And it's sad. So I can relate to this moment. Not to the degree of being, having different facial features that make me look inhuman, but I can understand where he's coming from. I'd rather cling to the single good one related to this body of mine. And then Kaminari and Kirishima and Mina just jump at Shoji, and they go like, "Only one good memory, say it isn't so!" And then they all jump into Shoji, who just opens his arms, and he hugs on everyone. Hugs on everyone as we go, "We'll make 1,000,000 of them together, buddy. You got us. There'll be lots of good memories down the road." And then it cuts to someone inside of Shoji's arms going, "This familiar warmth." And it has to be Sue. It's this familiar warmth. And this is Sue. This is Sue because she experienced this warmth during the cavalry battle in volume 4, where things got really cold and Sue got really cold, and the Shoji had to protect her in order to keep her from fully hibernating. And then it cuts to Shoji as he goes, "Exactly. But I know that'll take more than one generation to tear down a wall that stood for over a century. Yeah, most of us are still fighting for that sort of equality, So just as those who came before have done, I'll keep paying it forward." And it shows Koda making his way over to where Shoji and Spinner are. "I'll be the coolest hero the world's ever seen, to generations to come, to give good memories. I was persecuted too, and know the people who hurt us weren't justified, but there's gotta be a better way. There's gotta be a better way." And then the woman that was looking, that was there with Midoriya, the woman that was being attacked simply because she looked, the very tall woman that had deer-like face that Midoriya saved back then, she was the one along with Koda, not Koda, but Kota, who ran up to console Midoriya when he was there tired, when all the other civilians wanted to cast him out. We see a flashback of her But there's gotta be a better way. Several shelters. And it cuts to her going, several shelters turned me away. No heteromorphs allowed, they said. And then it cuts to Spinner, who's still out of his mind, covered in scale mail, going, don't care! Destroy all! And then Shoji, still cut up from the scale mail slicing him, goes, think about how to make use of that rage. I know you can, because we've all got scars we carry. And it shows these people looking back at Shoji facing off against Spinner. And then that same spider dude is still trying to rile everyone up. He's basically an evil version of Monoma. You just screaming out loud to make sure everyone hears him so that they can't see what Shoji's trying to do. Were it that easy to bury the hatchet, it wouldn't have come to this. Do you offer a feasible solution? No! Only the pathetic cry of your ego. Our hearts are long since hardened by society. Far too hard to be moved by such childish naivete. And then, in front of the spider dude, it just shows in front of this spider dude, a whole flock of birds just immediately appear in front of this spider para-liberation army leader. And it shows Koda, who Yo! Did Koda just evolve his quirk? Did his quirk evolve? Because Koda's head kind of split open to have like an extra structure come out at the top of his head. And with tears in his eyes, he screams, don't you dare mock Shoji! And then it shows Shoji's arm. Is he evolving as well? Is his quirk evolving as well? Because it shows that his arm gets wrapped up in multiple limbs to become one big massive arm and fist. And Spinner's looking at it and he goes, gross. And then Shoji, preparing to, face off against Spinner, just goes, yeah, this is who I am. And that's the end of the chapter. So wow. I think Koda and Shoji just evolved their quirks in this instant. That's the end of the chapter. That's interesting. Yo, Lego fan. That's it. That's the end. That's the end of the chapter. Wow, please tell me Spinner did not just call Shoji disgusting. He did. He did. And he's about to get hit for it. Let me go through the comments here. Kevon D. Psycho, good to see you. Will you have the Master Swordsman set from the Way of the Warrior Adept from the Dojo mission? Awesome. Keep going. Gear only gets better from here. Lego fan, hi Kyushu. Hello, Lego fan. No matter what media it is, fantasy or real, that type of discrimination is universally unacceptable. Discrimination sucks and people of color are exactly equal and matter. Not just people of color, but just people in general. Not just people like me. I feel not just people of color, but just people in general. Discrimination on appearance alone is stupid. Discrimination of any kind is actually stupid. Let's just not keep it out on skin tones and nationalities and race, but discrimination of any kind is dumb and it only leads to discourse. So I'm glad that Horikoshi is touching on this because we've experienced this type. We've experienced this type of discrimination in media before with the X-Men, or basically any other cartoon that deals with characters who do not look like anyone else and are discriminated on their appearance. We've seen it before during the Hellboy 2, The Golden Army, when when people were actually able to see him, and just because he looked like a monster, he was instantly seen as someone that they needed to cast out. You see it all the time in different sorts of media, but you also see it in real life. So I'm glad that Horikoshi is touching on this. Go to page 6 or 7, if not 6, where Class A gathered around each other. Where's Bakugo? I seriously hope he did not miss this. Going back. Okay, so there's Tokoyami, there's Kaminari, Kirishima, Shoji, Koda, Mineta. Jiro, Hagakure, Yaoyorozu, Midoriya, Mina, Ojiro, Jiro, and Uraraka. The only people who are missing from this is... The only people who are actually missing from this is Ida, Shoto, and Bakugo. Everyone else is here. Everyone else in Class A is here, except for Ida, Bakugo, and Shoto. I wonder when this took place. Yeah, I wonder when this took place, because those three are missing from this group. Interesting. But it just shows that they really have no leg. This whole mob has no legs to stand on. This mob has no legs to stand on, as it shows Shoji doing his best to just let everyone know that this is not how you're going to bring about change. I already spoke about this in my last reaction, but them talking about, like, the only way this is going to work is if it's paved in blood. Who cares if a couple of people die, as long as we make our voices heard and make change happen? But all this is going to do is just set the heteromorphic group of people back decades. They worked really hard. The good ones, mind you, the ones who actually have a good head on their shoulders, they worked really hard to get to this state. But this whole army lynch mob that's making its way towards the Central Hospital to take back Kurogiri and free him, first of all, they don't even know why they're freeing Kurogiri. They've given no reason why they need to free Kurogiri at all. Think about that. They never gave a reason why they're attacking the hospital. Because if they're trying to fight for equality, what does that have to do with the hospital? Shoji literally just asked them this in the last chapter. What does them attacking the hospital and freeing Kurogiri do for them to make life better for them? They can't see All for One as the one way that they're going to be able to live in this world, because if you go to the city, it's possible. It's possible for regular people and heteromorphs to just mingle with each other, no problem. That's already possible. They already seen that. Sure, it may not happen in their area right now, but change can happen in their area if they tried. That's the one problem here. They don't try. Neither on the heteromorphic side or the regular people side. You got bigots everywhere that are just hard-headed out in the sticks versus the people who are in the city, and they're just intermingling with heteromorphic people just like they really are just regular people. They just have a different appearance. But unfortunately, where they come from, people don't think that way. Aggressors are hardly ever seen as justified in hindsight. By making such a dramatic show of violence without documented precedent, they're dooming their own cause. That is it right there. What they're trying to do is not going to bring about this change that they think is going to happen. When's the next One Piece chapter? Next week. It's currently on break. I put it up in the community tab when chapters are... I tend to put it up in the community tab when chapters are out, or if no chapters are happening, or... Yeah, I tend to do that, so just keep an eye out for the community tab to know when the next chapter is out. But a new chapter is not out today, Dragon Beast. But did you know you're the original All for One user? Right. Like Dr. Evil. Right. But they're basically dooming their own cause. They're basically shooting themselves in the foot, thinking that forcibly causing change, even if there's casualties mixed in, is the only way to move this forward. And the real key aggressor in this whole matter is that one spider heteromorphic member of the Para-Liberation Front who's goading them on. Because Shoji is trying to make them see reason. But this dude is screaming over Shoji's all like, don't listen to him. He's trying to dissuade you. He's just trying to be all loud. Trying to distract from what Shoji's trying to make everyone see. So he's trying to, it's just, that's the only dude that's really making this very awkward. Not awkward per se, but he's the only one. Like how I redesigned my background. Yeah, you can see all my manga now. I only have 3 more volumes of One Piece to have, and then I have them all. It's gotten so extensive that I actually had to put some volumes on the bottom shelf now. I'm probably gonna have to put Mjolnir and the Infinity Gauntlet someplace else. But I feel like this is gonna be a good. How do you do the orange box name user? How do I do the orange box name user? Huh? Realize you're wearing the perfect shirt for this chapter? Who knew? Who knew that my shirt? I didn't plan for this. Who knew that my shirt would be what is necessary for things to move forward in My Hero Academia? And not just My Hero Academia, but this current moment right now. Who knew? Who knew my peace shirt would be what's necessary for things to move forward? But I thought this was a good chapter. We see that despite the persecution that Shoji faced during him growing up, saving the life of a little girl was enough for a lynch mob to come out and try and take him out. When they reply my comment, your name is highlighted orange, it's just YouTube's way of letting you know that someone is directly talking to you. So that way, it doesn't get lost in the text. You're the only person who can see it because it's directed at you. That only happens when someone is replying to you and is tagging you specifically during a conversation. So if I were to say, tag your name in chat, then you would see me saying something to you. That's just a way of highlighting who's talking to you, so that way you don't lose focus and you don't lose it in the chat text. That's just a YouTube thing. They've always done that. But Shoji taking his history of persecution and using it as a motivation to become a cool hero, the greatest hero that anyone has ever seen, based off of how he was persecuted. He covered up his face not because he was scared of what people would think, but he didn't want anyone to feel or be tense around him and think that he's out for revenge if he didn't cover up his face. He didn't do it for himself, but he did it for the sake of other people, so that they can be comfortable. Despite his arm appendages and everything. This is a small detail, but I always thought Shigaraki had some grabbed reason for coming up with the League of Villains. It's hilariously anticlimactic to see the real reason why. Yeah, the League of Villains is based off of Shigaraki messing with League of Legends. That's where he got the inspiration for the name. League of Legends gave inspiration to the League of Villains. I wonder if someone came up with that theory before. Reminds me of the caste system in historic India. There's a famous story of a person in the bottom caste saving a child, and that child was killed because she was touched by one of them. Oh, Lord. That's just a dumb way of thinking. Oh, you got touched by a person who doesn't live the same way you do? Who doesn't have the same education as you? Who is from that different part of town? Well, we simply can't have that child anymore. What? What sort of stupid nonsense is this? And I know, this is a different country and everything, but that sort of thinking is just dumb. Doesn't matter what country it's in. Looking at the haves and the have-nots, or the rich people and the lower people, and the rich people are looking down at the lower people like they're literally beneath them, as if money gives them money was like gives you a sense of worth or anything like that. Do I play Resident Evil? Haven't played it in a while. I will be playing Resident Evil 4 Remake though next year in March, because that game comes out after my birthday. I'll be 31 next year. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to be playing Resident Evil 4 Remake, because Resident Evil 4 was the first rated M game I ever played, and it's also the game I played when I got 100 subscribers on my channel. 100 or 500? I think it was 100. So that game holds a special place in my heart, because it's one of my favorite Resident Evil games. Actually, the first Resident Evil game I ever played. Bro, thank you for your strong guidance words yesterday. I was up at 2 a.m. drawing, and you're learning more as you keep going. That made me smile, and I thank you for encouraging me. That is what my birthday is in January? No, my birthday is in March. The Resident Evil 4 remake comes out in March 24th. My birthday's on the 23rd. But yes, CDez, that is what this channel is here for. I should clarify that India story was from a very long time ago, no recent history by any means. Oh, I understand. I know what you mean by historic India, but I'm still saying it's just a dumb way of thinking. And that's just one country. Other countries have different ideologies and stuff when it comes to, you know, don't interfere with that person, he's a lowborn, or stuff like that. Or he's a muggle, he's a mugblood, or dumb stuff like that. But this was a good chapter, letting us know and see things. Shoji is the embodiment of the idea that your experiences do not have to control who you become. Thank you, Koiz! My God, that's so good. After all the suffering he endured, all it took was saving one single person to change everything. Beautiful. And he holds on to that moment. Despite all the bad things that come, despite all the torture that he suffered, the lynching that he suffered, the scars that he bears because of this mob that came after him simply because he saved a little girl, but all they saw was that he was a freak that touched her, he still holds on to the thought that at least he was able to save a life. And that's all that was okay. That's all he needed. He saved a life. That's the only thing that mattered. If he had to suffer some scars to hold on to that memory, so be it. But at least he doesn't have revenge resting on the back of his mind, thinking that with my quirk I can get revenge on those that came after me. No, all he saw was him being a hero. And that's the only thing that mattered, despite what people did to him. And that's the same mentality that he still keeps right now. It would be really cool if that little girl comes back like Camino Lady did. Ooh, I wonder. Because time must have passed since that little girl has been little. So I wouldn't be it would be cool if that little girl shows up, or at least that same girl shows up in some capacity. Maybe. You have to be so strong to react to that like Shoji did. You have the utmost respect for him. What a G. Really, really, the amount of self-control. Knowing that it's not the people's fault that they don't know. They just have a lack of knowledge. I will shout from the rooftops if she returns. I think there's a chance. But Shoji, see, this is the sterner stuff that heroes are made of in the world of My Hero Academia. It takes them being... Who is Shoji? Shoji is the character in My Hero Academia who wears the mask and he has his hair swooped down, but he also has the multiple arms that can turn into different things. Eyeballs, mouths, different appendages. He's the tall member of Class 1A in My Hero that has the shape-shifting arms. That's him. Because he could have easily become a villain. That's why it's so powerful. Exactly. He could have easily turned into a villain based off of this persecution. This is what can become a person's villain story, but this is Shoji's hero story. And that speaks volumes. Despite the bad things that happen to you, if there's still a bright moment you can hold on to, that can mean the difference between going down a dark path or going down a light path. That's all it takes. All it takes is just one day. And here Shoji shows that despite what happened, I can still raise my head, stand tall, and be that force for good if no one else will. I love Shoji. Shoji's a good character. Really good character. And let's not sleep on Kota. Before I close out, let's not sleep on Kota. Kota out here helping out Shoji by evolving his quirk. He no longer needs the mask anymore to call numerous animals to him. He literally just calls them because his little horn that he had on his head basically splits open and becomes a brand new sort of horn antenna that calls hundreds upon hundreds of birds to surround this one Para-Liberation front leader. Matter of fact, let me do this. 371. Let's get this synopsis in here real quick, even if it's short. So we got a summary. Back in the present, Tentacool continues to fight Spinner, yelling that he has also suffered discrimination, and those people are in the wrong, but wonders if there is another way, though all Spinner can angrily shout is to tear it all down. He tells them to think about how he channels their rage, as their argument and battle catches the attention of the army. The Liberation soldiers attempt to spur them on once again, claiming that he won't give any alternatives and they will not give in to his naivete, only to be surrounded by a flock of birds, commanded by Anima, who demands him to not laugh at his classmate. Tentacool transforms his body further, and in response to Spinner calling him gross, he replies it's who he is. So, chapter notes. In response to Tentacool's question about the Heteromorphs having a plan for the innocents in the hospital, the increasingly maddening Spinner claims he does not care. The Liberation soldier steps in to cover for Spinner, riling the army back up. It is revealed that alongside his body bulk quirk, granting him incredibly tall and bulky body, he also possesses scale mail, giving him increased strength and defense. He uses the latter quirk to transform his body completely covered in scales, fighting Tentacool head on. More about Mezzo's past is revealed. He grew up in a town that would beat and abuse him every time he interacted with others due to his appearance. So it wasn't just the one time he saved the girl that he got persecuted. It was multiple times. Just because he interacted with regular humans, he got beat up and abused because of it. Him using his quirk to rescue a girl in a rushing river made him proud of his appearance and desire to be a hero. And Anima defends Tentacool by fighting the Liberation soldier, while Tentacool transforms his body further to take on Spinner. Now, if we go over to Kota, and we go over to his quirk, Kota has always had this horn on his head. Always had like this big horn that's just on the top of his head and then a slope in the back. That's basically opened up now. And this is the first time we've ever seen that. So it seems like both Shoji's quirk and Kota's quirk have evolved somewhat. God bless Kota for speaking up for Shoji. We know he's so shy, but he's doing it anyway. I'm so hyped to see what he does next week. I'm glad they gave these less popular characters their time in the spotlight. By comparison, the Liberation Heteromorphs took their bad experiences and really ran away with them. Can't imagine how many missed opportunities there were to save lives or help others. I'm pretty sure there was plenty of times when they were able to help other people out, but they took that as an excuse to just vent their frustration, especially when they had someone to stoke the flames a little bit. Let me answer this call. Family's getting me food. Family's getting me food. Family's getting me food. Family's getting me food. I'm sorry, I gotta get back on track here. I gotta end it. Wonder if Shigi is ever going to know what All For One did to his gamer buddy. I imagine he'd be heartbroken and angry. Lunch is brought to Kyushu. Yeah, it is! I wonder if Kota has been hiding this ability for fear of prejudice. Either that or his quirk is evolving. I'm heading into work soon, so you'll take your leave here. Don't worry, I'm about to end it here. Thanks for another excellent reaction and discussion, Coiz. It is always an honor to speak about My Hero Academia and the themes that they bring up, that Horikoshi brings up in this volume, in this story. I love it all. Shows those moves? Nah, I'm good. But overall, this was a very good chapter. I enjoyed it, and I love that Horikoshi is not scared to touch on issues that are pretty prevalent in the world today and apply it to his story. But he doesn't. Here's the thing. Can I say this? When Horikoshi brings up these themes in his story, they are never shoehorned in. We've seen this done tons of times in a political spectrum, on a gaming spectrum, on cartoon spectrum, on movie spectrum, and TV shows, and we see it and it just feels like it's really shoehorned in there, like trying to beat you over the head. But Horikoshi is such an excellent story writer for My Hero that he's able to incorporate all of these themes into the story. It makes sense, and it doesn't feel like we're gonna beat you over the head. Like, I know there was a segment in X-Men where they really beat you over the head, like it's not cool to be racist or stuff like that. Where they literally had an entire massive page of Colossus just trying to beat it over people's heads, like persecution and stuff like that. And that's not how you do it. You got to do it in a flowful way. And Horikoshi is an expert when it comes to that, because none of the themes that Horikoshi has in this story feel like it's just shoehorned in to pander. It makes sense for these themes make sense for the situation that's going on, the story arc that's going on, and for the characters who are bringing this theme up. So excellently done. When My Hero Academia is over, I would not be surprised if people psychoanalyze this entire story, because it touches on so many things, but it doesn't do it in a way that feels out of place. And that's one other reason why I love this story and everything about it. Because it's more than just like simply read a couple of pages, fight, talk no jutsu, and then you're out. No, these are things that you can have entire conversations on that can lead to even more conversations that don't even have to do with My Hero Academia. And that's a good thing. And I enjoy every single chapter. Am I going to be streaming again today? Well, yes. After I'm done with this, got to move on to Jujutsu Kaisen. And after I get my food, we're going to play some more Bayonetta 3. Because, ladies and gentlemen, Sonic Frontiers and God of War Ragnarok is dropping next week. I'm happy to say those words. Those games are dropping next week. I'm happy. But I'm done here. Let me not take up any more of your time than I already have. All I can say is I enjoy My Hero Academia. I love the story as a whole. It's amazing, and I'm glad I'm able to share my reaction to the story with all of you. So, at the end of the day, all I can say is, hope y'all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all. What day Sonic dropping? Sonic is dropping on November 8th. God of War is dropping the very next day on November 9th. So I'm going to have a super long stream for Sonic, and then I'm going to start recording videos for God of War and my entire video playthrough for that whole game. And trust and believe, there's going to be plenty of streams of us playing through that game. But yeah, hope y'all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. And if you're new to the channel and you enjoyed what you saw here today, then like, subscribe, and maybe even consider becoming a member, because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. So have a fantastic day, and once again, as always, later peoples, onwards to Jujutsu Kaisen.